Well, it makes me think so there's this concept called the intransigent minority, and it comes from this guy named Nassim Taleb, who says, we think that societal change comes from the center of a distribution saying, hey, we're going to move to the left or to the right a little bit. But what he actually says is that is not how things work. The intransigent minority is on the outside. They have a radical idea. Maybe it was even unthinkable. And they push that so hard that the middle says, let's give a little bit of room, let them do their thing. Then we'll come to some kind of agreement. But as soon as they move in a little bit, now they've got more space and they just keep doing it and pushing and pushing. And that's the challenge, because I think oftentimes the people that you might get in a fight with over the Kansas City Chiefs, they're just trying to be like, hey, let's leave open a little bit of space, let people talk. This is the way we settle things out, not realizing that by opening that door, now you're just going to have this entire area flooded. And once it's just like getting water in a library. Once the water's in there, you can't just go dry the books out. It doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way. And I'd be curious a little bit more about that theory and that philosophy, because there's something to that. And where you have, I guess, I feel like there's no room for someone right now to take a step back and say, look, I realize that there are a lot of injustices in this country, and there's racism that is outrageous. There's police brutality. All these things exist. But the way that we are trying to get rid of them right now, and by we, I mean the protesters and Black Lives Matters and the movement and the athletes, I don't know, well, maybe I kind of do know that is not pushing people further apart. I think there's a lot of people who, this is another one of those things, and Vance, I'll be honest with you, I've never in my entire career on the radio been worried about saying something that would get me in trouble. I find myself in a different position in this era right now. So I'm always a little bit more careful about some of the things that I say, because I think it's tempting to paint with a broad brush, even on those people who have genuine concerns about social justice, when they say, look, we are getting hammered. Now I'm being told I'm a racist every single day. And it wears on you, because I believe that there are issues that need to be corrected, but I'm tired of being blamed for all this when I don't feel like my culpability is something that should be focused on. So that's a tough position, because you can still care about the issues. I think the other side would say, no, look, that's not good enough. We've got to light fires. We've got to loot. We've got to do something to get the attention of people. I mean, that's a strong philosophy that the leaders of the movement, maybe not everyone that carries the sign, that's what they feel. So I get it. I understand what they're saying and how they feel they need to make change, but that's very dangerous.
Well, and what you're describing actually goes along. So right when coronavirus hit, and there was that guy that went to the Ritz-Carlton for the daddy-daughter dance, and people thought that maybe he exposed everybody, and you saw mobs pop out. And I came out right away because I used to live in Africa, where I saw what would happen if a mob is allowed to exact justice. So I was very, very worried about that. And everything that I was worried about got way worse than I even dreamed of. But my next fear, it comes from the exact thing that you're saying. So you've got a bold person that's made his career on being able to articulate ideas and get people to want to tune in and listen to them out in the public, where you can actually literally broadcast it out on the airways. The new danger is that if you are afraid to say things out in the open, then it's not that they aren't thought, and it's not that they won't be said. It's that people will now go into private areas, and they will start secluding themselves away from everyone else, and they'll start talking about these ideas. And because they're not out in the open, now you will start having ideas that maybe had a kernel of something interesting or good or worth pursuing, but now those ideas are completely unchecked. And so you start having people that take one idea and just dig it deeper and deeper and deeper. And so the very, very thing that everybody is screaming about is what will be created. It'll be a culture where people go in and they say, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but now we can talk about it. And you start having these private groups that turn into secret groups that turn into dark, dark things coming out of that. And I think that's the next stage that comes after the mob.
Look, that's very real. Very real. And I think you're right. And I don't know if there's anything we can do about it at this point, because I feel like we can't get to a point. Look, if we can't get to a point in this country where we can't assess what's going on in situations with facts, which is what we've been unable to do with police shootings. I mean, there's a lot of nuance to all these things, even going back to Mike Brown. And I said from the very beginning 6 years ago that I don't know what happened out there. I'm going to wait and see what the facts are. Well, the other side decided they knew exactly what happened, and the facts never moved them away from that position. And that's sort of where we are right now. And I think that we're in real, if we can't have people that are genuinely concerned about police brutality, and they should be, it's a real issue. And I think we're beyond the one bad apple. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of bad apples. So it's not just one bad apple. It's a concern. I don't like no-knock warrants. You know, what happened in Louisville. I also strongly feel that case had nothing whatsoever to do with race. But if we can't take a step back and say, you know, there's no trust from a lot of people, I get it, with police, but there's a guy that's in Pennsylvania, that Lancaster, that comes out of his home and he's got a knife and he's charging toward police and they have it on the body cam. And now there's riots over that, even though the guy had a knife. Well, he was mentally ill, so he didn't deserve to die, which is probably true. But what are police officers supposed to do in these situations when they're protecting people from violence? They're supposed to protect people from violence. So it's, boy, we've gotten ourselves into a big mess in this country, haven't we? A big mess.
Yeah, and like the politicization where we got started on every single area has made it so there is no shelter from the storm, right? Like I saw the other day that somebody made the decision to put a mask on the Apotheosis statue, the statue of St. Louis on the top of Art Hill in front of the Art Museum. And I was like, no matter what your feelings are about masks, it's a mistake to go take that figure that should be a unifying thing and put something on it that's divisive. If you don't want crowds of people arguing over that one, pillar, using that as their war cry over who wins and who loses, then don't politicize it. Don't put a damn mask on it, because there's no one is going to decide to wear a mask because they saw it on a sculpture, but they will fight over it. So I don't understand who in these positions is thinking this is the right path, and unless what they want is actual division.
I think in some cases that is what people want. And that's on both sides. So that's not just something that, the left or the right has ownership to, but I think they want division. And some people think the division is going to help their movement. So I think that's all part of it as well.
Thanks for checking out this podcast short. If you're interested in conversations like this, you might want to join the Articulate Ventures Network. There, we're a patchwork of thinkers looking to explore different ideas, having our ideas respectfully challenged, and figuring out different ways of looking at the world. To find out more, go to network.articulate.ventures.